plaintiff, Kristen Beasold, met the defendant a few years ago, and they eventually became roommates. Kristen claims the defendant's father paid all of her bills, but once he stopped, Kristen was forced to pick up the slack. But she's suing because the defendant never repaid her. Defendant Abigail Nadeau admits that Kristen helped her out with her bills, but in return, she allowed Kristen to stay with her rent-free. Abigail refuses to repay Kristen because she believes some of her debt should be erased.
Prove your case.
All right. I first met Abby a few years ago through a mutual friend, and me and my roommate at the time decided to take her in as our third roommate. Things worked out for a while, okay, but then the living situation became strained, and my other roommate and I decided to part ways.
How did it become strained?
She just, every once in a while, there were some issues, sometimes with her friends coming over and, emotional issues. Plus her dad was paying her bills at the beginning and he stopped. Okay. And so we weren't quite sure if she was going to be able to come up with her rent all the time.
What month did you all decide to part ways?
We parted ways in May of 2008.
And how much was she paying per month?
$300.
All right. She's stating everything correctly thus far?
I think most of it, except for their friends, were over most of the time. And the argument that asked them politely to move me out happened because she said, "You've been camping out in your bedroom a lot lately." Well, I had no choice because their friends were constantly over. Mm-hmm. So
Did you all ever discuss the friends issue?
I think that the majority of the problem they asked me to move out wasn't so much the friendship related as much as it was maybe
so your answer
emotional problems I was having.
So your answer is no?
No, yes.
You never discussed, you have too many friends or I have too many friends? That never came up?
No.
Did it ever come up?
No, not really.
Okay, you're just thinking about it today?
Right. No, it's just, it was something that had been discussed, but not really, okay, so hey, we have this problem.
You just told me it hadn't been discussed.
Not in great detail, no. The reason we ended up parting our ways was more because her dad stopped paying her bills.
Okay,
and
that was the reason.
My other roommate and I decided it was just better, we were having a hard time living with her and we wanted to move on from there.
Right.
So
I never did not pay my rent though, Your Honor.
Not then.
Okay. All right, let's get to the loans.
Reluctantly, after my other roommate left, her and I decided to come to another arrangement where she was going to move back in. Mm-hmm. And this was where she needed some loans because she was able to come up with her rent every month, but she wasn't paying the electric bills or the cable bill. And it was agreed upon that she was going to take care of it when she could. It kind of balanced. Her and I came to an agreement. She had been paying for a while.
What was the agreement?
We came to an agreement that the remaining balance was still $400.
All right. When did you all conclude that?
Approximately December of 2009.
All right. And how much has she paid since that time?
Nothing. No more payments on the $400.
Let me hear from you.
The reason I wasn't able to pay my rent and utilities is because I got laid off from my job. And she agreed. She said, "Look, they're in my name. I don't want my credit to go bad. I know you're struggling financially right now. I'll pay the bills, but you have to pay me back." Mm-hmm. I got up to $475. So in the past couple years, I've only paid her $75. And after we parted ways the second time, we still remained friends. And the problem didn't arise until I let Kristen stay with me this summer. She moved into my apartment. I said, "Kristen, you've been a good friend to me before. I want to do you a favor. You can stay with me rent-free." Throughout the time, she stayed with me for about roughly 7 weeks. In August, I was slower at work. I was having trouble coming up with my rent. My mother was going to lend me the money. Kristen said, "No, I'll lend you the money." I said, "Okay." She lent me $275 more. And she's suing me for that as well. But it got to be a very disrespectful situation. With her, the reciprocation wasn't there. She didn't.
What type of reciprocation?
She didn't help straighten up. She never did the dishes, didn't take the garbage out.
Straighten up every day.
She didn't. She had people in and out I never complained about.
You don't owe her because she didn't do the dishes?
No, as far as I just feel like I felt by taking her in and letting her stay with me, I told her rent-free, might erase some of the past debt that I owed her.
Why didn't you come to that agreement with her?
Because we had a bad falling out. And now she's...
Hold on. I'm talking about, did you discuss it with her when she moved in your apartment?
No, when she moved in, I mean, Kristen's 27 years old. I feel like it's common sense to clean up after yourself.
Once again, did you all discuss it?
The agreement, I will admit, I said, Kristen, you can stay with me rent free with hopes that some of the debt might be erased.
But that wasn't the agreement, right?
Right. No, it wasn't.
What should I do?
Throughout the time she was living with me, we did discuss that.
Pardon me?
Once we got to talking about the money I owed her, I blatantly asked her, Kristen, I was kind of hoping that by letting you stay with me for free. And what did she say? And she was like, well, you owe me $675. I'll let it go down to $500. Like,
ma'am, I don't believe you. You've changed your story altogether. Judgment for the plaintiff, $675. Have a good day.